I'm always stuck between two answers, one of which is correct, but why do I keep missing it? Hey guys, it's Jen. I'm a test prep tutor helping students build confidence on their standardized exams. And today we are talking all about how to spot wrong answers on an SAT reading section. But first, reminder to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell. It's completely free, but this way you'll be notified of all of my test-taking secrets. Okay guys, I'm super excited about today's topic because I know how difficult the SAT reading section can be. I hear from my students all the time, I'm always stuck between two answers, one of which is correct, but why do I keep missing it? I'm sure a lot of you out there resonate with this sentiment as well. Well, today I'm going to share with you 5 characteristics of a bad SAT reading answer to help you better narrow down your answer choices. All right, the first characteristic I want to talk about are answer choices that are too extreme. You've probably heard of this one before because it's quite a common technique, but usually the right answer will not have words that are super absolute. So words like always or never, these don't leave any room for negotiation, but SAT answer choices like to at least have some qualifying words and make the answer choice not set in stone. All right, the second characteristic are answer choices that don't align with the question type. So here's what I mean. On the SAT, you'll have different types of questions show up repeatedly. So we have big picture questions. These are your main purpose, main idea questions. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have some detailed questions or evidence-based questions. The approach we take for each of these types is completely different. So when we are answering a big picture question, you have to consider the passage as a whole. I like to tell students to take a bird's eye view and think about the passage in its entirety. So on these questions, answer choices that are super specific. Even if those details are correct, they're not going to be the right answer because they don't encapsulate the entire passage. On the other hand, if you're dealing with a detailed question, an evidence-based question, then your answer choice has to be super specific. One that is more general or too broad is not going to be right. Characteristics 3 involve facts that are unsupported by the passage. So it does help on the SAT to have some background knowledge on the topic you're reading about because it helps to prime you for the passage and helps you read a little bit faster and retain more information. But it is a fine line that you're walking because you want to make sure you don't rely on outside knowledge to answer questions. So here's the interesting thing that you need to know about the SAT. If an answer choice is factually inaccurate in the real world, then that answer choice should not be correct. However, if something is factually accurate, that does not make it the right answer by default. You have to make sure the answer choice is also supported by the text, whether it's the passage itself or a table, chart, graph that's given to you in the passage. Okay, characteristic 4, this next one I'm going to share are assumption-based answer choices. This is one of my favorite techniques to teach. It's also a really difficult one to master, but if you do, you are going to see a huge score improvement. You may have noticed this, but the SAT is really good at providing convincing answer choices that are wrong. A lot of these answers come down to a phrase or even a word that is assumptive, that is based in assumption, rather than something you can directly infer from the text. An example of an assumption would be, let's say we are reading a passage that discusses a study in biology, and then the answer choice goes, the results of this study applies to all fields of science. Well, that's an assumption because nowhere in the passage does it tell you that the results apply to anything more than the field that we're talking about. So you want to get really good at spotting words that cannot be supported or inferred by the text. And then finally, my 5th characteristic that I want you to be on the lookout for are irrelevant answer choices. These are completely off the mark, or they are only tangentially related to the topic we're talking about, and these are not going to be correct. The good news is these answers tend to be easier to spot, and most students are not going to gravitate towards them because they are completely off topic. All right, guys, I know, of course, it's one thing to learn about these tips in theory, but to see them in practice is the really important part because I want to prove to you that these show up all the time on SAT questions. So next, I'm going to walk you through a couple of real questions from College Board where their trap answers have these characteristics. Okay, and the test I'm going to be going over is test number 1. Passage 4 is the Virginia Woolf passage. This is the test I advise you to take if you followed my How to Self-Study Using Khan Academy video. So go back and watch that if you haven't already and take this test first. Okay, then I want to work through it with you so you can see how I apply these techniques. The passage here again is from Virginia Woolf, and to give you a quick overview, Woolf here is exploring the changing landscape in England in the early 1900s. And in particular, she is imploring women to consider whether they should be seizing their new opportunities to join men in the workforce. Okay, so let's go ahead and try a couple of these questions. The first one we'll tackle here is number 33. The central claim of the passage is that. So right off the bat, we know this is going to be a big picture main idea question, which means the answer you're going to pick needs to be broad enough to encompass the main idea. Let's look at A. A says, educated women face a decision about how to engage with existing institutions. At first glance, this looks like a pretty good answer. Remember, Virginia Woolf here is exploring whether women should join the workforce. So I'm going to put a tick mark next to A and come back to it. Let's look at B. Women can have positions of influence in English society only if they give up some of their traditional roles. This is a good example of an answer choice that is too extreme. Can you guys tell which word or words make it that way? It is this phrase right here, only if. Nowhere in the passage does Virginia Woolf say that women can only have positions of influence if they give up their traditional roles. That is an absolute answer that is just not stated in the passage. Okay, so it's too extreme. Not B. Look at C. The male monopoly on power in English society has had grave and continuing effects. This looks like a really convincing answer, and for students who didn't quite understand what Virginia Woolf's message is, may think this is a good one. Also, this is a statement that may be true in another passage written in the same time period. But Virginia Woolf does not focus her message on the male monopoly, nor does she focus on the negative impacts of that. Okay, so coming back to the question, we are trying to address the central claim, which has to be that main overall idea, and that is not C. Lastly, let's look at D. The entry of educated women into positions of power traditionally held by men will transform those positions. This is the perfect example of an assumptive answer choice. There is one word in here that makes this answer choice assumptive, and it's right here, transform. Okay, I'm going to cross that out. Why is that? You may think logically that, well, of course, if women take over roles that are traditionally dominated by men, then those roles will change. But again, that is not the main focus, the main message Virginia Woolf is trying to present. She is not discussing changes to roles. She's discussing whether women should take on the new opportunities and join men in the workforce. Okay, so D is classic assumptive answer choice. Coming back to A, we already said that was a pretty good answer, and since nothing else works, that is going to be our answer. Let's try one more, number 41. The range of places and occasions listed in lines 72 to 76 mainly serves to emphasize how. Okay, once again, I want to draw your attention to some words here. Mainly serves. This is going to be another big picture, main idea. Granted, it is contained within a particular set of lines, but what we are asking you to do is to figure out the role that these lines play in the context of her message. So if you go back to your passage and revisit these lines, what you'll see is in this part of the passage, Virginia Woolf is laying out all the different places women ought to be thinking about this question. No matter where they are, whether it be at home, in a courthouse, anywhere they find themselves at church, they need to be thinking and considering their options. Okay, so we want to make sure our answer is once again broad enough to encompass that idea. A says, novel the challenge faced by women is. Novel the challenge. Is this the main idea? Yes, women are given a new opportunity, but to say the focus is on how challenging and difficult that decision is not correct. Okay, so I'm going to say A is not it because we are not focusing on how new, novel means new, the challenge faced by women is. B, pervasive the need for critical reflection is. A lot of students don't know what this word pervasive means, which will impact their ability to reason through this answer. So you should know pervasive means widespread. To me, that's the perfect answer because what Wolf is saying is regardless of where you are, there is a need for you to think deeply. Okay, so it's very widespread. But just to confirm, let's also check the other answer choices. C says, complex the political and social issues of the day are. This is definitely a classic SAT trap answer because it sounds really good. You know, if you're just looking at this passage and not really understanding the main message, you see women, it's an issue about women. So you start thinking, oh, feminism, which is complex, right? Social issue, and you think that's a good answer. But this is not what we're talking about. Certainly not what we're talking about in this particular part of the passage. Okay, this particular part is only emphasizing all the different places you need to be thinking. So, not C. D says, enjoyable the career possibilities for women are. Okay, I hate to put it so bluntly, but who cares? Who cares about whether women actually enjoy these roles? That is certainly not the focus of this passage, right? We're not talking about whether they find these jobs to be fun. It is whether they should take these opportunities or not. Okay, so not D. Coming back here, once again, we are left with B, which is our best answer. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed that detailed breakdown and you got to see how these characteristics get incorporated into the wrong SAT reading answers. I know reading is not the easiest, but I also know if you study hard and you really apply the principles I'm teaching you, you are going to do very well. Let me know in the comments what other issues you're struggling with on the SAT. I make videos here every week helping you learn strategies as well as content so that you can get the highest score possible. If you like this video, please give it a like, share it with your friends who also need a bit of a boost in the SAT reading section. Subscribe to my channel and hit that bell, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye for now.